Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdown. And it's a bit empty, but it's kind of a good thing because it's just going to be me and Will today, and that's always a fun time
You
whenever
know
me and
what
him
that
just get to have a
means.
duo episode. We are going to bet you about the Phillies, but we are not going to start with that. Don't worry. My name is Rob Mars III alongside Will Johnson. So Tyler and John cannot make it with us today. They'll be back with us very shortly because there will be some stuff that will be happening during the offseason that we will definitely be talking about as things begin to kick up. But well, I mean, we got to talk about it, and we got to talk about the World Series. I mean, so the funny thing is that I would argue off rip that it was one of the greatest World Series that we've seen in a very long time on excitement level, on quality of teams being in it, moments. I mean, it checked all the boxes, but the results that came out the other end kind of dejected me from the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I stay true to my word. What I think said one of our other episodes that once the Phillies got eliminated, I was probably not focusing until the World Series, and that is true. I didn't even watch a World Series game until Game 7, but I joined at the right time. But yeah, no, I
Yep.
mean that Game 7 alone, regardless how you want to rank the series compared to other World Series. That Game 7 alone will be go down as one of the greatest baseball games of all time, and it truly had everything, especially
Mm-hmm.
heroics at the end from people you would not expect. And yes, Will Smith won another World Series, and I don't just mean that being that Will Smith, just that whole pattern that it now exists where a Will Smith has won a World Series for the last like 6 years. So, but having it go down to the Blue Jays needed two more outs to win the World Series. And then Dodgers tied it, went extras, and the Blue Jays lost it. I mean, if that doesn't sum up my thoughts of the season of high hopes and then, getting stabbed in the chest, I mean, I don't know what else does. And I know off the podcast, at least between you and me, because I know how others feel pertaining to why the lockout's happening and who's really responsible for the or who the salary cap really should be present for or not present for. Um, Regardless of our sides of it, the Dodgers winning the World Series is fuel to the fire for
Yes.
already that argument for people. Regardless of the fact that the Dodgers didn't have one of their better seasons, they had the third best record in the National League and arguably vastly underperformed in the regular season sense. And you could even say back to back years under the Otani era, it's been less than projected from a regular season sense, but both times they've won a World Series. So in the end, it's like, does that really matter? So yes, is a lockout going to come? Sure. Does it make me feel not great about necessarily the future of baseball because of how this is going to potentially propel the lockout in between 26 and 27? But I mean, at least from an entertaining standpoint, the Game 7 was crazy. I felt and still feel incredibly bad for the Blue Jays and pretty much the entire country of Canada. I mean, they can't catch a break in the sports world.
The comment I
Um,
made last time was that I can't believe it was baseball that united the entirety of Canada, amidst the hockey rivalries that are up there. Shit, even the Canadian Football League. So, but yeah, I mean, the group of people I feel bad for the most are absolutely the Blue Jays fans more than anything else, especially since this happened on home turf.
yeah.
Like, that is the most heartbreaking way to lose a
Mm,
game. That's a situation where it almost would have been better if it just was the Dodgers just blowing them out by like the fifth inning,
yeah.
because at least at that point you have a lot more time to, come to terms with what you're feeling and the sadness. But no, they were already raising the banner before just the Dodgers just pulled off that heroic last couple of innings that just just turned everything right around. So you literally had the highest of highs and then the immediate lowest of lows, all within the course of, as you said, 2 outs. 2 outs was all I need. And, you know, it's annoying talking about, you were talking about, like, you know, the unlikely heroes of for the Dodgers in this case. So Miguel Rojas. I hate saying that it's almost an underdog story with the Dodgers, but that's kind of what happened. You have the guy who was just not thought of in that lineup. I mean, especially for any casual baseball fan. Like, you're going to know Ohtani, you're going to know Freeman, you're going to know Teoscar. But, like, Miguel Rojas, of all people, is the one who pulls it through. And you have to respect the shit out of that, I guess, at the end of the day.
Well, not just that. He's also the reason that they saved it in the bottom of the ninth inning, was it, or 10th or whatever, when there was that bases loaded situation to make the incredibly off balance throw home when he could not either get the ball out of his glove or he lost his footing. Like, if that anything goes slightly off there, because that ended up going to a replay because people weren't sure if Will Smith truly had his foot on the base, and split second different, and Blue Jays win, and it's a completely different story. So he not only saved the Dodgers season with the home run, he saved it in the field too. And he also prevented what was going to be the perfect baseball ending script for the Blue Jays. 2 outs, you have Shohei up as the tying run, and then he could be the final out. So, I mean, damn you, but also damn good baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, by the way, he was, $5 million was what he was getting paid this season, just for the record, compared to, the rest of the salaries going
the
through
big bucks money. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, across the series, though, you did have the usual suspects showing up. I mean, Shohei Ohtani slashed 333, 500, and 778. He had, I believe, 3 home runs in that series. Yeah, 3 home runs in that series, a few doubles as well. And not to mention the fucker pitched, where he didn't do nearly as well as expected. He actually
the
let up,
second game kind of changed that.
It's a bit skewed.
I think the fault there, I mean, it doesn't matter in the end. Dodgers won it all. But I feel like in that situation, to set that up ideally for him, they should have had him start earlier in the series. Is
Probably
kind of the way to do. I thought he should have gone game 3. It would have set it up where at least on a normal day's rest, he would have pitched in that game as a starter. And to use Ohtani, they had to use him as a starter in that game because of the Ohtani rule. They could not have started with class now, had Ohtani come in to pitch, and then had him go back to DH. If anyone had started that game other than Ohtani, and Ohtani had come in to pitch, then if you take Ohtani out, then from then on you lose Ohtani in the game. And so it's weird how I can definitely, if the Dodgers lost, per usual, it feels like when it comes to Dave Roberts, even though his strategy definitely seemed to be true for the entire postseason, the way to handle a bad bullpen is to not let the bullpen pitch, use only your starters. Was that there were enough, I guess, slight bullpen choices throughout the series that would have been Roberts' downfall in the end. And pitch search selections at certain points, mainly why the heck he went to Blake Trinan at all.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, it is also very much in many ways Roberts' decisions in game 7, especially as the game went on, that won it for them, not just putting Rojas in the game to begin with for a guy that wasn't hitting for like the last month of the season going into the postseason. Yeah. And then the whole pie substitution and whatnot. Like, there were so many little things that just, they happened perfectly because of the choices that were made.
Didn't think we'd ever be saying that there was a Roberts masterclass that happened, but
I wouldn't even call it a masterclass, but it worked out brilliantly. Yeah. See, the masterclass, I feel like, means you play it out and like ways that don't seem like it should work, and it works. And I feel like a lot of the time he didn't.
So we're
from a
applauding him for
masterclass
not
sense.
making the wrong
He just
decisions.
made the right moves at the end, timing wise, perfectly. Like you could even argue
Mm.
that Page's come in maybe a bat or two too late because it wasn't like an inning started and Page's came in. It was specifically that situation of like there was what and one out and a man on third or something, and the possibility of having to gun the guy out on a fly ball, and then he was brought in, which is a little different than typical, but of course it worked from the tracking down sense. No, it worked on the fly, and the things I didn't necessarily expect the player to do, they did. Like you didn't expect Pages to make that catch, you didn't expect Rojas to hit the game tying home run, but
Yeah.
kudos to you and damn you.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of not switching gears, but looking at
Yes,
the
switch gears. I don't
Toronto.
want to. I hate talking
Well,
about the
I mean,
Dodgers.
I did. Well, we're gonna talk about Toronto. We're gonna talk about the World Series for just a little longer here
I
because
didn't
I
say
did.
now World Series. I said don't want to talk
Yeah.
Dodgers.
Yeah, because I kind of want to get off this too. I mean, it's so annoying looking at, especially on the batting side of things, where man, there was so many guys who were getting a hold of the ball, and it still just wasn't enough. I mean, as a Barger, good God, 480, 536, 680, and 25 at bats across the series. He had one home run and a few RBIs to boot. Bo Bichette looked great. I mean, Vladimir looked great. George Springer looked great. I mean, the bats were there. It just, it's weird. Like, is there anything to really pin on the Blue Jays here?
I don't have the numbers out in front of me like you do, but I know one of the things was that their situational hitting was always fantastic and
Mhm.
what got them to where they were in the World Series. But that was the thing, arguably, that wasn't quite as sharp as it was other rounds. Like they would definitely get some big home runs, or at least home runs with men on base. That was a big thing comparing home runs that the Blue Jays had and the Dodgers had in this series because they were basically neck and neck.
Mhm.
The Dodgers' majority of home runs from like almost like a 3-1 comparison were solo home runs, whereas the Blue Jays, it was the complete opposite. Like 6 of 8 home runs or something had at least one man on base, and 3 of their home runs had two, if not three men on base. So that was really what helped them. So I think it was just the Dodgers in this entire postseason were offensively were arguably a team of consistency because they weren't great, but every single game, for the most part, the majority of the time, they would score, it seemed like 3 to 5 runs. And the starting pitching is what got them to where they needed to be. Um, the Blue Jays would have big blowout games. They would suddenly score 11, 8, 10 runs, whatever, in a game. Then they might have a couple games where they score 1 or 2, and then they get back on it. And I think that just kind of showed that, yes, they had the offense, no doubt. I mean, Ernie Clement has the record now for what most, I think, most hits in
Mhm.
a postseason.
Yeah.
Um, and like 2 spots behind him on that list all time is Vladdy in that same postseason. Um, it's just that having those crazy blowout games and then the like 1-2 run games, and you saw them a couple times anyway in the Mariners series, the situational hitting just wasn't there from a consistency sense. It ended up being a bit more long ball blowouts that kind of gave him the big leads. And in the playoffs, especially versus the Dodgers, if you can get 6 runs, that kind of was the dagger for that game. So the Blue Jays, I don't know if in the future they're gonna, or in the future, I really say off season, how much they're gonna try to do too much offensively to replace what they have rather than just bring back the pieces. But I know the key, if they ever, when they get back into the postseason, odds are something may have shifted finally. Um, it's going to be keeping up that situational hitting to make sure that they
Yeah.
aren't too long ball consistent, especially when things get tense later on.
Yeah. I mean, and just kind of taking a quick peek over at the pitching as well. I mean, and this is going to be a good segue, by the way, to our excuse me, our next topic. But I mean, Shane Bieber, all right. had 2.8 ERA. He had, and Chris Bassett had 1.5. Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Probably got up to warm up more often than any pitcher.
1.93 ERA for him. Jeff Hoffman 1.8. I mean, trying to see. I got to look at innings pitched throughout the course of this too. But I mean, Kevin Gausman had the most innings pitched, tied with Savage with 12.2. And they both had Gausman had a 4.26. Savage had a 2.84. There's not a lot to really point at there either. Again, it seemed to be a mostly offensive duel for the most part. I mean, I don't think anybody had a amazing. I mean, except for short of like one or two games, like there was a couple amazing feats, but they didn't last very long once the bats started flying.
I think the thing for the Blue Jays more than anything is that I don't know if we necessarily expected their pitching to do this well. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the shaky things for them entering the postseason in general. But and even with the Dodgers, like regardless of what the Dodgers had done prior to the World Series, there was always going to be that thought that hey, they're the Dodgers, they've got the experience, and
They got the
it
pitching.
felt like as the postseason was going on, the on paper the pitching like prowess was just getting less and less and less. But the Blue Jays staff over starting rotation, bullpen, you tip your hat to John Schneider and how he threw guys in various situations and the matchups. They did a great job at keeping the Dodgers at bay, and that helped complement their offense. You really can't blame him in the end with what happened. He had the guys that he wanted in the situation, and they were performing well. It just didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of fits in. Like the last thing we'll just kind of touch on here was the rant that came out of Caleb Joseph, the Blue Jays analyst for Sportsnet, that came after. Where I'll read the full quote. He was breaking down Game 7 after everything was all said and done. Remember, he was on Sportsnet in Canada, so he's going to be the bias towards the Blue Jays, but. He's gonna say it's gonna sound like sour grapes, and I don't really give a shit. But I think, and he said this on live TV, by the way.
Yeah,
But I think the better team did not win this series. I think that the
I
Blue Jays
agree.
are the better team, and I feel like they played baseball a certain way that was infectious, that grabbed the attention of the fans, and it's disheartening to see that the better team did not win. And that's not to take anything away from the Dodgers, but the Blue Jays, they did so many things correct. They did so many things right. So he was getting kind of clowned on for this. First of all, he's as heartbroken as everybody else in Toronto, so I
Mhm.
don't know why you're expecting anything different out of him. But everyone seemed to kind of be hitting on him about the better team comment. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I
No,
just think it was an edge game, and the Dodgers got the better end of it. I think that's all that happened.
like if you compare side by side the team stats, you probably are going to find most things where the Blue Jays are better from offense to pitching. And I think that just partially comes down to also how the blowouts change things. I mean, there were times where the Blue Jays offense was so infectious that everyone was hitting, runs were piling up like crazy. Even the losses sometimes they had hits after hits and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. It's just that they couldn't get the runners in. And and at least from a complete team standpoint, sure. I mean, the Blue Jays from a starting pitching and bullpen were definitely better than the Dodgers. The Dodgers, what Dave Roberts did for the whole postseason was just he accepted the fact that the team did not have a good bullpen,
Mm-hmm.
and he just went with what worked. And I mean, they have a team of a bunch of veterans. Most of those guys, or a big chunk of those guys, were on the team last year on the World Series team, and it was funny because it was the complete opposite narrative wise from a pitching sense for the Dodgers that year, where the bullpen was the strength and not the starting rotation. So I do think in the postseason, and even regular season, sense record wise, really too, the Blue Jays were the better team, and they were definitely the more interesting team to watch as a whole. I think just there weren't many blemishes that John Schneider could have avoided other than just when things kind of happened in the moment. Whereas Dave Roberts, from a game plan sense from game one in the wild card series, knew what the faults were for the Dodgers and was just, I'm going to do everything I can to stay away of what I know is the biggest problem. And if that wins it for us, great. And it's really, I know it's still what 20 guys that helped out. It's a little feels a little less of a team win because you're shunning out like 4 guys, 5 guys, whatever it
Yeah.
was in the bullpen that you're not using. But when it comes to the postseason, you got to play your best hand game after game if you want to win it all. And in the end, Dave Roberts did that, and the players rewarded him by pulling out the consistent 2-3 run wins.
I mean, just to put a little bow on this, I mean, do you think that the Blue Jays just caught lightning in a bottle here and to get this far, or do you think that it's very possible, assuming that they're keeping a good portion of the pieces that they've had this season, I think they'll be able to get back next year?
I mean, I think they definitely could get back next year in the postseason. I think, if anything, one of the things we have always been saying was that for the Blue Jays in the offseason, it seemed like players did not necessarily want to go to Toronto, whether that's because it's in a different country or because the Blue Jays hadn't proven themselves with their young core and it was at the end of its contract stint. I feel like
Mhm.
now the Blue Jays suddenly are a more appealing market because of what just happened, because of seeing the how the crowd got so into the playoff games, how you have Vladdy now for the foreseeable future, and if they re-sign Bo Bichette, which I think they will, that
Mm.
he could be there for a while too. I think that the will the young guys necessarily do everything they just did again? No, I do think some of those performances were lightning in a bottle, but I do think it shows that we we can kind of stop counting out the Blue Jays now and look ahead that they might not always win the division every year. The AL East is going to be a year-to-year dogfight between the way the Red Sox make moves and the Yankees and how the Orioles could bounce back. But the Blue Jays are always going to be in the playoff conversation for the at least the next few years, and then we'll see what happens as players move around.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the Bichette take. It's a good starting point for kind of what we're going to talk about. So this is going to be a little bit of everything. This is going to definitely be the kind of all over the place portion of the podcast. But the so off season already kicking off. Already got a few things going on here in the home section for me and Will here. Phillies have extended the qualifying offers to Schwarber and Suarez,
And it's
which
going to be done.
basically means nothing. I mean, all it is just making sure they get their draft pick because they are
Yeah.
absolutely going to decline these qualifying offers. That's literally all it's going to be. I mean, I have confidence that the Phillies are going to get them both. I mean, I don't see why not. Um, there, it's a I think they're going to at least get Schwarber here.
Yes.
At a minimum. Suarez, I guess, could be the one on the way out. We'll see. I guess it's really just going to be a question of whether or not he really thinks that he's going to get something crazy outside of what the Phillies are definitely offering him.
I mean, the neighborhood salaries that I'm seeing projections for Suarez are 5 years at about 115, 120, which would be what, 25 or million a year or something, probably a little less than that. Not quite that. That would be 125 a
Yeah,
season,
not
but
quite.
still, that's a that's a pretty big payday.
Yeah,
And from the Phillies' priorities this offseason, bringing in another starter, I think, is either last or second to last. They don't really have
yeah,
too many priorities. Um, and some of them will easily kind of happen if they can re-sign players. I mean, I'm just going to say the big three in this case. I'm not going to consider Bader in this right now. Between Schwarber, JT, and Suarez, I do think Schwarber and JT will re-sign. So that'll cover the catching question, which even if something happens that I'm not foreseeing and JT were to walk, I don't think the Phillies would even do anything honestly to replace that. They would just go with Stubbs and Marchand next year. But which would be a weird platoon to see.
mm-hmm.
Um but I think they would get both. And then the question will then steer to one, Castellanos, and two,
No.
for me at least, it should be what's in the bullpen, because starting rotation wise, I know you're going to have Wheeler on the shelf for the first 2 months. You'll have Nola, you'll have Christopher Sanchez, you'll have Jesus Luzardo, and you'll have Taiwan Walker. You know that Andrew Painter has a chance. I don't even want to necessarily say strong chance. I know there's a strong belief that he could start the season with the team. We know that he just had his first full year back from injury. He didn't necessarily perform the greatest though in AAA, so I do think the Phillies will be cautious. Do I think Painter will come up at some point next year? Yes, I do think there is a very strong chance, but they really need one, maybe two starters to kind of help bridge the gaps of when Wheeler comes back and a potential injury slash Taiwan Walker falling off a bridge again later in the season. And what when they get to the postseason, they need really four pitchers at most, and you have that in Wheeler, Nola, Luzardo, and Christopher Sanchez, assuming they'll all be healthy at the end of the season. If not, you have the trade deadline. So therefore, Suarez, while I would love to have him back, given his postseason pedigree, the presence he is in the clubhouse, and everyone loves him. I'd love to have him back. I'm going to miss his defense the most, I feel like, if anything, when he leaves. But it's a luxury that they don't need to put their money into right now. And they may choose to use those funds to do some type of a upgrade in the outfielder, trade for someone, and then extend them depending on who they get. I mean, there's various options, and Dombrowski is he's a creative man behind the wheel when it comes to trades and acquisitions. So I think the only thing that could help the Phillies in the Suarez situation is that Suarez has said that he would like to come back to Philly. It's just a matter of how long would he be willing to hold out to see what the Phillies do.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm trying to make sure as I'm like kind of thinking this through that I'm not too homebound and too home thinking in this case, but I do wonder if either of them are bought in enough to kind of where the Phillies are at right now to consider taking a little bit less, maybe even kind of getting surprised by a bridge, maybe not, because I'm sure right now with the talks of a lockout now looming for the following season, everyone's going to probably want to lock up their deals now so that they don't have to worry about dealing with anything that could be related to a work stoppage at some point at the end of 2026 going into 2027. So, but I do, Ranger being a part of this system, I mean, do we think there is any chance that he might just be like, you know what, this might be worth it, I'm willing to go down a little bit? And, because the problem here, and this is just across baseball, is it's always hard to predict how much money is willing to be put in because there's no cap. We'll talk about that some other point. So, Dombrowski might say, you know what, he's worth that. That's probably not going to be the case, but it certainly, I guess, could happen. I guess it kind of depends on how everything else works out. And then I guess the immediate follow-up, and I know it's kind of a loaded question, is like, is it at all dependent on who is currently available for age-wise? You did mention possibly looking at an outfield asset to finally get that all solidified, and the possibility of, let's say, maybe other surprising moves that could happen on the infield side as well.
So I think do I think that he could potentially take a pay cut? Yes. The Phillies have been known in the recent years with these big signings that players have said they've not necessarily taken the biggest offer they were given, but wanted to play in Philly. And the fact that Suarez is homegrown means that there's a little bit more of that there. There's also some possible flexibility that could come out as early as next year and in the near future that could make Dombrowski and or Middleton, I really should say Middleton, because he's the one that would have to agree to the move, to say that we'll take it on, and whatever that costs from a burden sense for a year or two, we'll deal with it, because after this year, or after I should say 2026, Taiwan Walker's done. Jesus Luzardo at the moment would be a free agent, though there's been discussions that he would get extended. I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe 26, if not 26, 27 is Wheeler's last year. And of course,
I'm almost
Wheeler's off the books.
It's Wheeler, yeah.
That's what, $42 million a year off the books.
Yeah, and he'll be what, 30
36 or something, 38 or
Yeah,
more still. But he's retiring when he's done. He said it, and especially with the surgery now, I think for him, he's
he's
just
thinking
kind
about it.
of yeah, he's definitely kind of
He's thinking about it.
winding down. And if the Phillies still have Castellanos, he's off the books. So they have some that could be anywhere from the range of like 60 to $100 million off the books there just from those four guys. So if the Phillies were to bring in Ranger now, maybe that decreases the odds of them re-signing Luzardo, which I said have been thrown around. Maybe that's less of an option, or maybe the Phillies just um, or maybe whether they trade Castellanos and don't go super big with the name, maybe they bring back Bader and becomes more of a defensive outfield next year. Um, there's various avenues where they could bring Suarez back, and part of it will be, I think, how the Phillies choose to move beyond this year. Because the biggest question we keep getting asked year after year is like, is this the do or die year? Is this the do or die year? Like, I know it's always the idea of World Series or bust, but like, is this last year? Next year, not just because from a lockout sense, is kind of the first time I would say maybe, and that's pretty much because of the combination of the contracts that are expiring and how things could change, but also who's entering free agency for the first time. Because I believe Marsh and Bohm are on final years of arbitration, so they would be
Yes.
free agents. Or they might have. I take that back from Marsh. I think they might have Marsh for one more year, but Bohm would be the bigger question because of Miller in the system. Um, and they would still have Stott for, I believe, 2 more years, not two, one after 26. So
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of, and the point is they're ending that period of the daycares growing up and graduating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where the decisions will be made. And they're at a point now, too, where those players, or I should say those types of players, when it comes to arbitration control, have the question thrown out of whether they will get traded or not, because suddenly team control is less of a thing for at least the present team. And they might be like, well, if we don't have control of them after this year, we'll trade them for someone else, and because they think they can get a better value, or that they might lose them to free agency and they get some value, or there's an extra just 1 year of team control left, and that's valued highly sometimes for teams. So I don't even know where to predict. I do my prediction that I did based on MLB trade rumors, 50 top 50 free agents contest thing. I had Ranger Suarez walking, so I just think in the end, the Phillies, if they were to bring him back, would wait too long, and Suarez will sign with a different contender and
Yeah.
get the money.
I think because there's going to be a bunch of teams that are looking for a 4 or 5 hole fill that could potentially have
Or five.
much
He's gonna
bigger.
beat it at a 3 or a 2.
Maybe. I mean, it depends. Depends on if he's already going to be on a really good team, or if this is going to be kind of like a guy, the team that really needs like top end starting rotation caliber
I
material.
went with the
Out of Randy
Giants.
Suarez. I mean, I don't think you're. I don't think you're completely out of
So
your mind
therefore,
with
Webb
that
would be their
prediction.
ace, and he'd be one of the
Yeah, it
guys
would be
with the
number
postseason
2.
experience. That plus he would
Mhm.
do great in a pitcher friendly ballpark.
Yep, exactly. So, you invoked a couple names, and you.
I know
I
I'm
mean, I guess
sprinkling the seeds for you to, you know.
yeah, you know what
So
you're doing. You know what you're doing. So I mean, so
yeah,
MLB
most of the
Trade
time.
Rumors did release their top 50 free agents. They also included a bunch of their predictions. The writers Steve Adams, Anthony Franco, Dara McDonald, and Tim Durkis. Did I say his last name? I think it's Durkis. So Will, I know, participates in the contest for all 50. We're not going to go through all 50
I
because
suck,
that would take forever.
but it's fun. It's
Um,
hard.
but I want to skip the first couple here and go to kind of the more let's call it alluring players
I'll
to hit
give
the
you this at
market.
least for the ones that you're skipping. I was fairly lame early on, or at least for some of them in like the top 10, and I just kind of had re-signings. So
Yeah,
you're not
I
missing
was
too
gonna say.
much.
I mean, Bo Bichette's one of the top ones.
I had him
I don't
re-signing.
think there's no way. I don't think he's going anywhere unless Toronto decides that they're drunk and they give him a low ball offer. Or just I like. There's no way he's not signing with Toronto in my
The
mind.
only way
But
he wouldn't be is if they were to go after like Bregman and have Bregman potentially play shortstop, and that's just stupid when that was even a question for the Red Sox. So yeah, Boba this thing.
yeah. So, but I did want to take a look at Munetaka Murakami. I do apologize, by the way, if I butcher his name at any point. I'm still learning it, and
I'm just
to
gonna
be
say
tell you the
Murakami.
complete truth, I didn't know a bunch about him. Basically, up until his announcement that he was coming and looking to play with an MLB team this upcoming season. But he's a big slugger. He's going to be a big bat. A lot of teams to be looking for. The Phillies are actually predicted by one of the writers on the on MLB trade rumors to pick him up, but it does invoke the question about Alec Boehm at that point and what to do with him alongside Aiden Miller, who's on the come up. I mean, do we think there's even a possibility at this point, and what would it even look like if that was the case for the Phillies?
Would they chase after him? I'm gonna say yes, but to a very small degree. Phillies front office has talked about since the Otani. I say since Otani. Really, I guess it's with the Yamamoto pursuit a couple of years ago that they are trying to get a lot more aggressive um in the market for
Mm-hmm.
foreign players, and so I think for that alone, they are going to take somewhat of a strong approach, probably a stronger approach than some would think. I don't think they'll even make a short list in the end in the eyes of Murakami, but if something like that were to happen, um, Murakami would play third base. Bone would probably get traded. I don't know what the Phillies would necessarily bring in. And when it comes to Aiden Miller, either he'd become a trade piece, which I still think is potentially a possibility in the next year or two. If the Phillies just have to decide what they're doing with Bohm and what the solution is after Bohm. And if it's either keeping Bohm or choosing someone else to play third, Miller could get traded. I see an avenue too where Miller potentially plays shortstop or second base. Stott's the one that would get moved, and then
Mm.
either Turner stays at short or moves to second. But to do that would mean the Phillies just don't think Stott can turn it around hitting wise, even though he's got Gold Glove caliber
He's a
defense.
ridiculous defensive second
It's
baseman.
just
I
that
mean,
he's had back to back years now where he's had inconsistencies hitting wise. Granted, it was the end of the season this time that he did find his hitting for the last couple months after he adjusted his hands. So the next question will be
shit,
as it
he even got
was.
trusted on the leadoff a few times this season.
Well, I still think he can do it. And I do think long term that's where the Phillies would like to have him, but
Yeah.
he just hasn't consistently been able to keep the hitting up for an entire season besides I think 2023. And so that's going to be the thing in the end that decides whether or not he stays long term or not. And so Murakami's not going to the Phillies, but they'll try and pursue him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. Uh, I keep wanting to ask this question, and I feel like
Ask
the
it.
answer is I feel like this answer is no. But like,
Do
so
it.
you're talking about Bohm, and you're talking about Stott even being on the outs, and shit, even Miller being traded. If by some fashion Murakami ends up coming to the Phillies, I mean, do we not think that there is at all the possibility that Bryce goes back outwards, like goes back
Yeah.
out to the outfield again? Like, for some reason, I don't know why this drives me as crazy as it does. I feel like this is forgotten now because of the past few seasons that he's been playing first base. But every time that there's a corner infielder available and the Phillies are getting pinned to them by writers, they're always talking about Bohm, and I get why, because he's gonna be a hot free agent when if he doesn't end up resigning with the Phillies, getting extended by the Phillies. But I never understand, with the writers also being aware that the outfield woes are there, that there's never a conversation about, well, he could come and play first base, and then Bryce could go back to the outfield, because it's not like he wouldn't do it. Is there any doubt that he wouldn't? I don't think there is.
Well, Bryce has said from a short term sense, he would be willing to go back to the outfield for a season or two if the
Yeah.
Phillies could get the right person. So yes, there if the Phillies were to get Murakami, there's absolutely the idea, at least to start a season, they might say, you know what, we're gonna kind of not
Let's see.
completely go back to our 2022 ways, but we're gonna kind of go back a little bit to that idea of
Yeah.
defense is secondary, because obviously be moving Bryce from he was a Gold Glove
Yeah.
finalist this year back to an outfield position, which he had uneven metrics, and he where sometimes he was great, sometimes he was eh.
Yeah.
But plus you don't know what the arm strength I guess really is anymore. But
it
You
can't be
would
any
go. You
worse
would
than what's currently
absolutely
there.
bolster. You would yeah. You would absolutely
Like,
bolster the lineup, and then after next year, the Phillies would decide what they're doing with Bowman. The odds are he would probably walk then when
mhm,
arbitration ends, and Harper would just go back to first, and they
yep,
reevaluate what to do in the outfield.
yeah,
I do think that's an option. Um, I just don't know if that's the avenue I see the Phillies taking. I feel like more and more they're steering towards they want to be a bit better defensively as a whole. I mean, that kind of started when they officially made Schwarber DH a couple years ago full time. And when they
yeah.
put Harper at first and kept him at first, it was there. Plus, Bohm is a better defender at third than he is at first. And honestly, now, after all this time, Bohm is not a below average defender anymore. He's about average,
Mm,
but
yeah,
considering what he started as, it's like massive mounds of improvement. And I think even in some metrics, he was positive. So plus Turner had a huge step forward this season
yeah,
defensively. It was actually one of the best
yeah, that's great.
shortstops, which is ridiculous and everyone's going to ignore. But
I was worried about him going into this season, but he did what he needed to do.
he did exactly what he needed to do and what Topper wanted him to do. I have no issues other than I wish his hamstring didn't tighten up. But
Yeah, yeah. At that point, you can take
so
that up with God. So
God and this conditioning coach. But
and they can oh yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
I no the I think after I don't want to get in this really too deep, but given the
Yeah,
comments that were said and the reactions from Harper and Clubhouse whatnot regarding to what
I
Dombrowski said versus what he meant, I think there's absolutely going to be. I mean, Harper has always been a voice in the front office when it comes to
yeah,
whether who they sign, who they pursue, and kind of what the Phillies are, what they should do.
yeah,
I don't think I think Harper, if anything, would probably be pushing very heavily towards like we just we need to outslug a lot of the
yeah.
thing.
Of
Like you don't think I
course
was
he is.
good enough, then like I'll show you, but give me someone to help back me up. I don't know. There's
Can
various
we?
ways to go. Are we gonna take this
Well,
or open this
no, no,
can
no.
of?
No, I just can
Good.
we at least no, I really don't want to because the discourse is
Oh.
just is infuriating. But I did at least want. Can we just at least agree, regardless of intent? Incredibly ill-timed comment, probably. Just way too early to be saying those types of things. I feel like, given that there's a really weird offseason about to happen for them, I feel like it's a little
I
strange.
honestly found his response to the criticism worse than his response itself.
That was hold on. I don't think hot take. That was not Bryce. That was Scott. That was Boris telling him to say something. I feel like.
Well, I'm not even talking about what like Bryce said regarding to. I'm talking about what Dave Dombrowski said to kind of defend himself of what he actually meant.
Oh
As
yeah, that
like
no
that
that
the way he tried to defend him like or try to say, oh no, this is what I really meant. I thought sounded worse than the actual thing
yeah. Just
itself.
stay on your original comment. 10 toes down. Just
So well,
stay
because
on it.
here's my thing, and I mean I know I've had slightly different thoughts about the strength or what Castellanos has said, hasn't said, what he means, and blah 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 blah. But
Fuck all that. Respectfully.
from the like I understand. I feel like in the Dombrowski situation with that initial article, it was less of or article. There, well, I get articles in
Interview.
response to the press conference. It's less about what he said versus how the media construed it,
Yeah.
because what he said is not false. The
No.
last part, which is what got construed, was the comment about will he be an elite player again? That's up to Harper.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, that's
Is
the
also
part
not
that
incorrect.
he's not incorrect. No,
The
that's the part that got really kind of
yeah.
twisted there was the fact that it went from like that we do me at least we understand the kind of vague nature sometimes you get when it you ask direct questions to what feels like it
Yeah.
should be, and really is simple answers as to did you think he played well enough, yes or no, and you get the like political answer as to uh, the question. Um, there was enough in there that the writers could say, "Oh, Dave Dombrowski does not think Bryce Harper is elite anymore," and it's like,
Which is
no,
not what
that's
which is
not
not
what he
quite what he
said.
said.
That's not what he said, and that's not even what I would have implied that he would have said, especially with some of the comparisons he made and stuff. It's like, and it's true. I mean, you could argue in many ways Bryce Harper only has had one, maybe two true elite seasons with the Phillies. And if any reason that it is not elite, it's just because he's had various health issues. And so you
Yeah.
define whether you think the health issues automatically means it's not elite because he can't stay out there for a full season. But we do know, at least in a postseason standpoint, aside from this year, he has been elite always. So I think the problem there with the whole Dombrowski thing was just that the media construed the answer, and suddenly all these trade rumors started swirling around various things that absolutely weren't true about the potential direction of the Phillies and what this was insinuating. And it insinuated nothing. Honestly, the only thing I gathered from that press conference, which I wasn't really happy about, was that the Phillies were kind of seemed like they were going to be we're going to just going to do the same old again because we think it'll work, which was a little annoying from a fan
Yeah.
standpoint. But absolutely nowhere did I really think, in his words, he was like, we're trading Harper, blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing that kind of,
I
like you said, Scott Bryce's
anyone
response, those were the things that then came out as, I'm hearing my name around trade rumors again, that I'm not good enough. And it's like, no, that's not what was said. But yes, that is kind of what came out of it. It's just they
I also
pulled too much
just
out of it, is what it was.
I
And it
also
became a
just
whole much bigger thing.
I would say, and I also just don't believe that he's actually getting shopped around. There's just no chance. I
He's
don't believe
not.
that at
No,
all.
the
No.
fact that whoever even
Who?
started that
Yeah.
idea as a
Whoever said
rumor,
that
like,
needs to be
should go
fired.
immediately to TMZ.
Yeah. That the one thing I'll say, just end this because I just wanted to ask since we haven't talked about it, but like
No.
the one thing I did want to say is that like for regardless of intent, Dombrowski, my man, that there's certain points where the political answer, especially with one of your long-term signed players, is the right thing to do. We don't need this, especially
I think
right
what he
now.
gave was the political answer. I feel like the way he could have avoided is, do you think he's still elite? Yes. Regardless if you
Yes,
think it's
no,
true or
that's
not.
what I mean.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
He was injured.
Just say that.
I guess this is the way I should wrap it up, because this is true and this is the part I left out, because at the time this was not stated in the press conference but was mentioned afterwards, and I do agree with it, is that the simplest answer would have been, yes, he's elite. Were his numbers elite? No, but he was dealing with a hand injury for a decent chunk of the season, potentially again. At least we know in the early half that was true. So that can affect numbers, and we know.
Yeah.
Again, recent years he's dealt with various injuries, and we know last year he dealt with the hand injury. But if he had stated that the hand injury could have potentially affected his results, then that kind of washes away a lot of stuff. It does,
Mm-hmm.
if anything, it does kind of make me feel like something I had thought in the season is true, is that this hand injury is a chronic thing that they just don't want to admit, and this is going to be what he has to deal with for the rest of his career. But I'm not going to cross that road now. That'll be something that gets talked about if it comes up again next year.
Yeah. So okay, I'm
Go back to the list.
Well, hold on. Last little bit of
Wait,
Phillies
we're still
things before
detouring?
we complete. Well, last little thing about the Phillies before we go to the free agent list is the potential of a new bench coach. New bench coach.
Oh yeah, I did tell you to mention this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mainly because there's one name that's floated out now, and all intents and purposes, I think is going to be the answer, at least with the Phillies 200% go for it. The only reason he doesn't get the job is because he just doesn't want to be a bench coach anymore, and that's Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly is not returning as the Blue Jays bench coach. The Phillies have been known to pick coaches that have connections with the Yankees, and Rob Thompson, Kevin Cash, or not Kevin Cash, Kevin Long, that's race. Yep. And Don Mattingly all have worked together at some point in the Yankees organization. So the familiarity is there, and Don Mattingly would definitely be a million% improvement or whatever over what we had. But it's just, if Don Mattingly wants to do it again, and even if Mattingly says yes, I can't guarantee this is going to happen more than a year or two. He might do it for 1 year and say, I'm retiring, I'm done.
That's
But
you know what, and I do, but I would think, given the window that we were kind of alluding to earlier, the 1 to 2 year window, that might just be the one of the things that just finally puts everything over the edge for the Phillies, because this is the time to do it. Because listen, we can argue all day. I mean, we're not, but like we could argue all day about what the window actually is, but the window is not opening further; it is closing. How long it's going to take for it to close is the debate. So getting someone like Mattingly in there, given a lot of the criticism that Thompson faced last season and some decisions that he was making in regards to the lineup, definitely could be a could be a welcome change of pace. Like, just kind of not necessarily handing over the card to Mattingly, but at least giving him a chance to actually do what he does best, and that is be the goddamn bench coach. So
I would hope
Mattingly shows up.
I would hope Thompson gets ejected a few more times. Not that I want Mattingly to be the manager, but if Thompson were to get ejected, Mattingly's then the next guy up.
I so believe, and I see this for any sport, any type of thing. Thompson is really more of a vision guy than anything else. Having a logistics guy to pair with that is the perfect pairing for me. So if you get someone like Mattingly behind Thompson, they already know each other, they already kind of know how each other work, and they have good pieces to work with. That's certainly, am I going to say, yes, the bench coach is going to be the thing that finally pulls the Phillies to a World Series and possibly even a title? No, but it's going to be a helpful piece that I think in the long run is going to show some improvements that are going to kind of gradually build.
Especially because it seems like they were one of the things, again, from that end of the season post press conference, were that certain decisions were at least to some degree influenced by the bench coach's suggestions. And they were some of the more questionable choices in the postseason. Whether or not that's true, it was just a fall guy sort of thing. The bench coach is meant to be that ear in the head of the manager throughout the game, and he might toss suggestions out with. So, yeah, having someone like Mattingly with that experience and really just the experience.
A season pro. Nothing really to go against him for the most part. So I agree with you. It's really just going to be, does he want to bench coach again? And does he want to come to Philadelphia? I mean,
why not? We're good.
Why not?
We're good. We fam.
Yeah. So all right. We'll be done with the Phillies now, and we don't have a lot of time, but we
have as much time as we want given our detour.
This is true, but let's. I do want to look at this top 50 article because it's obviously going to be the big thing that we are looking at. We did look at Murakami. We'll get back to him in we'll get back to him in a second. But I mean, let's briefly just take a look at Kyle Tucker here. So Kyle Tucker going to be as listed as the top free agent going into the offseason. Right fielder. The prediction from MLB Trade Rumors is about 11 years, $400 million. We had predictions from the writers for the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, and the Giants. I mean, he's going to get his payday either way. I agree with that much. But where he goes could be a different story. Philly should definitely be looking, depending on what they're going to be able to do, to free up some cash after these qualifying offers and other free agent stuff gets sorted out with returning guys.
I don't think that they want to take on another contract that long again. I have them staying with the Cubs. I'm kind of surprised no one mentioned the Cubs. People thought they might try to extend him. I think the Cubs kind of proved they want to prove that. Last year got them back into the postseason. They were a win away from getting to the NLCS. Bringing back Tucker, I think, would help kind of show that, hey, we're serious. We did almost prove last year with Tucker that we can do it. You could argue the main thing that stopped it, other than just the entire offense collapsing in the second half of the season, was that Tucker got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly worth a consideration, at least. Again, the thing that I'm always going to ask about the Phillies whenever they're going into the postseason is just offseason, is at least just fucking look and just see how far you can get before completely just getting out of the way. The problem is, Kyle Tucker, he's going to look for a max, and it's not going to come from the Phillies, although it'd be a very nice addition.
I think the Phillies should probably get a right-handed bat. They're getting kind of left-handed with some of the bigger names.
Yeah, it's funny. As much as I'm like trying to be more sabermetrically inclined when it comes to things, I do think that's just kind of how baseball is starting to be. The righty lefty thing, especially when when it pissed me off when Thompson cited it with that bunt, but it just the matchups I'm not necessarily worried about. At the end of the day, man, I need someone who can hit a fucking baseball and can defend a bit better than Castellanos. So I'm willing to forego any sabermetrically based opinions for just somebody who can hit a fucking baseball at this point. And the key, by the way, key theme throughout this list, I swear to God, they have the Giants just basically buying up everybody. Well, by the way, I know they're buyers, but holy shit.
I think, last year kind of showed that, or last offseason, and they were ready to take the next step. And then, then there's the Devers trade, and they kind of followed I don't know how recent the years have been, but in the end of the season, the record ended up kind of being what was expected in a sense. So they're just trying to take that next step. And to me, that's offensively. So any big name offense wise is going to be connected to them, and some pitching, starting pitching mainly choices. So that's why I had Ranger towards go to him. I can think of one other big bet I had going to them, but I forget. And even now I'm thinking off the top of my head, the bat that I have going, I don't think I would, because of where they would put Devers. But I'm trying to remember who was the DH for that team last year. I know Chapman's third, so Devers was he just the DH most of the time, or was he playing first? Because I know he played some.
I mean, he was definitely DH for at least half the games, right?
So. I guess it was. I'm just gonna say DH, and that I'm just remembering wrong, and someone will correct me later.
That's fine.
So I'm going to jump the gun and just answer my own question, because the first base choice I gave to them was Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
So I don't think Alonso's returning to the Mets. I think kind of the Mets collapse and his quick, I'm entering free agency. I know he then immediately kind of did the I thought at one point maybe I'd have him go to the Yankees as kind of the reverse Soto situation, but I think the Yankees might leave first base kind of open for Ben Rice or someone else, or maybe someone, or if they re-sign Bellinger and Bellinger can technically play first, it's going to be kind of more of a flex position, I feel like, for them as they move people around.
They're not going to solidify that option. They're just going to kind of move things around until things settle a little bit.
So I saw the Red Sox as a possibility for Alonso, and maybe, but no, the Giants were the team. I'm like, seeing first base as an option for them. They'd be the team that I would see would try to jump towards him. Now, how would Alonso play in a more hitter-friendly park? I who knows, but
yeah. A few other names to look at. I mean, I mentioned Bubba Shett. I don't think anyone thinks that he's going anywhere else. He's going to stay with the Blue Jays. He's going to get a nice payday for it, so good for him. Dylan Cease, another kind of interesting one.
Whoever said on the Phillies, leave.
You're especially for the price that they're predicting for him, 7 years, 189. That's crazy. There's just no point, and they're just not in a position to do it right now.
I don't want Cease. He's too inconsistent.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, even if there was there's not even a possibility, I think, just from the logisticals of just getting him in. I just don't think it happens. I wish John was here. So there were 2 Red Sox picks for him, and then one said the Orioles. Which I guess
John was the one. I wish John was here, because he at times was like, I want Cease. I wouldn't want Cease, but as an Orioles fan, I would rather have someone who's a bit more consistent. But I have Cease going to the Mets.
I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I think the Mets, after what happened last year, went with a bunch of experiments, and while it worked in 24, it backfired in 25, and so. To them, I think I can see in their eyes that Cease what he can do, even though he had some of those down times, as they can make him more of that ace that he was at times with the Padres, and one season, if not a couple, with the White Sox.
We mentioned Murakami already a little bit. I mean, we were talking about the Phillies' possibility of going after him, but I mean, for the most part, the couple teams that I see, the Dodgers, for obvious reasons, they're good to get into that. But now with Pete Alonso being gone, the Mets certainly have a case now to make for him if they're willing to spend the cash.
I have Dodgers. I think right now the thing with the Dodgers is that they are just the pull for Team Japan.
Yeah,
Like
I
they
just like I
Shohei
feel like
Yamamoto,
everybody.
Sasaki, everyone wants to play with Shohei. I don't blame them. But
No,
because
never
of
do I.
that, the Dodgers just they're immediately like, hey, are you willing to cough up the money? And 90% of the time it's yeah. Part of the reason
Yeah,
that they're gonna get Murakami, I don't think they'll go after like Tucker. Um,
yeah,
but I think the main question would then be is they just picked up an option or something on Max Muncy. There might be a possibility now where Max Muncy gets. I think he played second base one time, or at least for part of a season, where he kind of becomes a second baseman in a weird situation or whatever, and as Murakami takes third. But now the Dodgers will get Murakami and they'll find a way to make it all work together.
yeah. I just if you want to find the thing that is really going to solidify a lockout, it's going to be that signing if that goes through.
That's if
It's
anything,
kind
that
of
signing is going to cause a new ripple in the lockout, and it's going to be about whether
yep.
there's a limit or not to how many international players you can get.
Oh God, well, you don't know this. We should do a show where we kind of break that. Maybe when we have the an episode again where we kind of talk about salary cap and salary floors again, we'll bring this up. And I think I've mentioned it before. The MLS rules, the completely different sport, obviously, but like the MLS rules regarding international players is insane. I'll have to break that down for you at some point because it's fucking wild how their roster rules work. So I'm just imagining like you're mentioning like a cap on international players, and in my head that's what I'm thinking of as like the worst possible case scenario because it is fucking wild playing around that.
Well,
The
the
next
Dodgers are regardless
you're
of big budget side of the argument, the Dodgers are going to be responsible for a lot of the discussions because of potentially now we'll see what happens foreign signings, but then also contract deferrals and again now the big budget stuff. Like it's the choices that the Dodgers have made that have been within the guidelines that are going to cause some people, mainly the cheap owners, to be like, what do we do?
yeah. Bregman, number 5 on the MLB trade rumors list. Again, there's always a Phillies pick out of the 4 rares, and I just think it's crazy. It seems like the Tigers are the majority possibility pick for him. Doesn't get a qualifying offer this time.
I don't remember what I said for Bregman. That's not bugging me because I didn't have. The only thing I'll say is I did not have him returning to the. I have him returning to the Red Sox. I think what I had in this situation is I had Bregman going to the Mets.
Yeah,
I think I had Bregman going to the Mets, and the way they would fill the hole at first is Mark Vientos would get moved to first.
Yeah, that's probably the case because Bregman is a pure third base guy.
Well, and also the postseason experience too, and you would have a back to you would have Soto put Bregman after him, and I know Bregman has a history of being a clutch player, not getting a lot of RBIs, so that would be a very strong deal to get.
Yeah, let's see where he goes to. I don't see. I mean, Cody Bellinger's on this list too.
I had him signing with the Yankees again.
Yeah, it's you're. I feel like that's
though he
that's
is a name I thought about the Phillies potentially considering, but I don't want to get into that.
They'll look at him. Yeah, they'll look at him. Kyle Schwarber's sitting there, number 9. We were talking about him. Wayne Suarez for following him as well. Pete Alonso is definitely going to be an interesting one, and the writers' picks is really funny to me because we have one saying the Reds, one saying going back to the Mets, and 2 saying the Red Sox.
Right, and then I said Giants.
And then Giants. Yankees is a possibility, maybe more remote than people would think.
I think for the Reds at first, I had them signing Luis Arraez.
Yeah.
Because having Arraez would also allow them to take like Ellie away from the top of the order and give him at least some type of a table setter potentially.
Yeah. I'm trying. There are 50 people, and by the way, I do obviously encourage if people go actually read a lot of.
Yeah, so we're skipping to the better.
I'm trying to skip to the more let's say headline creating ones. I mean, Josh Naylor's there as well. Apparently, the Mariners is the favorite there.
I had him resigning.
Edwin Diaz could be a bit of a toss up.
I had him resigning.
Trying to look here as well. Devin Williams. That's a weird one.
Who did I say for him?
You're looking at it.
Because Williams is in a situation where he has to kind of partially, like fix his name or whatever, fix his reputation.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like there's enough there from recent memory that a contender. I want to say I said Padres for him.
Mm-hmm.
So Suarez would go somewhere else. I think the way I had it was I had Robert Suarez signing with the Cubs, and then the Padres would get Williams. One thing that will be interesting for the Padres this coming season now is what their starting pitching situation is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I'm
Cease is a
curious
free
to see what
agent,
the first
King's a
domino is
free
for that.
agent, and Yu Darvish is out for the season.
Yeah, so they got
And
some work to
Musgrove
do.
will be
They
returning
have
at
to make a
some point.
splash somewhere. They have to make a splash somewhere. I thought one of the more interesting ones was Imanaga.
So I have him going to the Angels. And that
Do
means two
you
things to
really?
me. Two things to me. One, well,
Okay.
they got Kikuchi recently, so they like the idea of like the recent uh international flav. But and
Yeah.
I say recent, but that's even though Kikuchi had been around for a little bit, but he had come off of a good season. But two,
Mm,
I still go on the idea that the Angels is where players go to die or get hurt.
yeah.
So Imanaga had some injuries last
C.
year.
Mike
He's not the
Trout.
youngest person around.
Mm,
So he just seems like the type of person to me that the Angels would jump on as like the hot pick, and it's like no.
yeah. It's funny. The analysis on him is interesting because they were talking about how he still, posted a fairly decent ERA, but they
Mhm.
said that his average on his fastball went down. They said that his walk and strikeout rates weren't as up to par as they expected him to be. So for them, the Cubs, that was seemed to be the main reason for the
Mhm.
declining the options. So
Which is
it's
why
just
the Angels would
interesting.
love him.
Yeah, so you see, I thought the Cubs were going to be all in on him at some point in time. Polanco is also going to be there. The Pirates is one of the picks, which is hilarious to me because
I didn't say Mariners. I had Gleyber Torres going to the Mariners. I didn't. I don't think I had Polanco going to the Tigers as the replacement. I don't think I flipped them. I don't know where I put Polanco, so I'll pass on that one.
yeah, yeah. For the most part, I'm trying to find any trying to find Ryan O'Hearn again. I'm missing John here, but um,
Royals. No,
yeah,
Royals. I said
we got
Royals because
a between the writers at trade rumors, you got 3 for the Marlins and 1 for the Mariners. Right
Royals
above
need to
him
do
is
something to improve their offense after last year. I didn't really
yeah.
get any crazy choices to them, but he was one that I thought they might jump on
You get
as
a
a little
lot of
improvement.
crazy utility out of O'Hearn too. So he's
Well, he's
gonna
got
be
first, he's got the
fine, right? Is it?
outfield, and their offense sucked last year, so they
Yeah,
need stuff.
yeah. JT's there. People seem to
Phillies.
think Phillies, although one writer said the Padres. Um,
It's
I
not
mean,
going to happen, but yeah.
no, but I mean, I guess like you said, I think the pitching is more the concern going into
Well,
it. I
they
don't
have
think they're going to be
Furman,
terribly
so they
worried about
have
it.
someone, so they're
Yeah,
fine.
Bader is also there. None of obviously
I
we're
think I
not sure
had
what the
Bader
Phillies want to
also for
do.
the Royals. I still think
Yeah,
Bader's an outside shot for the Phillies. My ideal situation, which Bader probably wouldn't necessarily want to agree with, is kind of a three-way platoon between Brandon Marsh, Harrison Bader, and Justin Crawford, because I'm still full-heartedly believing Crawford's going to start the season as the Phillies left fielder.
I
The
like
outside
him, man.
option, the outside option for Bader as a starter would be is that the Phillies trade Castellanos and choose to be more defensive heavy there. At least to start the season, maybe they trade for someone by the deadline if they feel like they need more offense. And knowing the Phillies, they probably will feel that at some point where someone will be hurt. But I just think that this season, I want Marsh and Stott to play every day more
Yeah,
because they're at a point where I think they just have to play every day more. I don't care about the whole I need to get certain people in type of thing like Sosa or whatever. Just have Sosa play every other position. I don't like
yeah.
let Stott play. Like if you face a lefty 3 times a week, have Stott play against that lefty twice. And for Bader, he will still occasionally sit for Marsh. That'll happen for one reason or another. But Justin Crawford's the one that if you want to platoon or ease someone in, have it be him as the rookie. So Bader would still play probably about 100 to 120 games. He just wouldn't technically be an everyday player.
Luis Arias, you mentioned earlier as well. He's on this list at around 34 spot. I mean, so the Ranger seems to be the majority pick for the writers here. Trade rumors, Diamondbacks and Twins were also mentioned. I mean, I keep thinking of the Mets whenever I keep seeing first baseman here because, I mean, they're going to grab one of these guys, and I just really going to be a question on who. And I think most people are going to look towards the Mets. I mean, player wise.
It's
I mean,
unless they think that the Mets would try. I mean, the Mets have a little bit of flexibility, like we said, with where they want to put Vientos. So if they find a third base option, Vientos can move over. But yeah, no, first base is definitely the interesting option for them if Alonso walks.
Ryan Helsley's there. A couple Marlins picks there. D-backs and Angels.
For Helsley.
Gleyber Torres. There was a consensus amongst the writers about the Tigers.
I said Mariners last year. I'm saying Mariners again.
Justin, I do not want to spend more time on this guy. Justin Verlander somehow still becoming a. Yeah, I mean,
I have them re-signing him more for the veteran.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, you might as well take it now. Keep buying guys up. Kyle Finnegan's on there. Kind of
re-signing.
Relievers re-signing though. Sir Anthony Dominguez, God, I can't even say.
I had him. I think re-signing with the Blue Jays.
Gregory Soto, another one. Gonna be in there.
Oh, him! Well. I went to like the Athletics or something. Yeah. I was like, "Screw you! You're gonna go to a team that just needs bullpen, but don't really want you."
Closing at the list, full utility out of Willie Castro here, looking for a 2-year bridge.
I think I don't even remember where I put him. I may have just said resign because I didn't know.
I love how they had like the top 50, and by the way, they probably have just as many mentions. By the way, and one of the people that's spoiling that mention is Miguel Rojas. By the way, the Dodgers are gonna pay him.
Isn't he? I thought he's had 1 year left.
I think my understanding was he just kept getting 1 year. Oh yeah, and then Reese is on this too.
Yeah, Reese. So or I should say, the Brewers opted out of the mutual option or the team option or whatever it was. God. So, no, there is this whole scenario in my head where I'm like, the Phillies failed to re-sign Schwarber and bring back Reese. 22 vibes.
No, you know what I was gonna say? This is not gonna happen. But there is a universe somewhere where the Mets don't land any of the top 50 in terms of any of the first basemen, and they make that happen.
Oh no!
I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, it's remote, but
if
it's
there. If
that
happens, I need to see a photo or a video or something of like Reese Hoskins and Jeff McNeil holding a bat, singing "Kumbaya," like that. That's a meeting I want to see. I don't want Reese to join that team, but if something I mean, let's put Reese on the Red Sox because we haven't set a first baseman for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But God, that would be so. I still have that. Hey, we talked about putting Harper back in the outfield. You want to recapture good vibes? You bring back Reese, put him at first, and you recreate 22.
The annoying thing is, and I know there's no good reason for me to say this other than it was just fun at the time. Bringing him back, I'm not 100% opposed to doing. It's not my first choice, but that is a pure vibe pick. A couple other guys just kind of say just a couple other guys just looking at the honorable mentions. I mean, Walker Buehler was there, Patrick Corbin's also there, Zach Eflin, Austin Hayes, Reese, Max Kepler, bye-bye. Starling Marte is on there as well. Moncada, Jordan Montgomery, Cedric Mullins, Marcell Ozuna. I'd be shocked if he got anything less than a platoon or anything more than a platoon spot. Miguel Rojas is there.
Reese is an option for the Giants too. That should be considered because Reese is a West Coaster. So if the Giants want the first baseman and choose to, put the bank into someone else, then like if they wanted to go after Tucker, then Reese is a much more viable option at first.
Yeah, Robson's there too. I guess I guess he's still gonna play. He's 40 years old. Might as well. So, I mean, if as long as Verlander can keep doing it,
I mean, Scherzer, I know you glossed over, was on that list too.
Yeah.
About where he would end up. I guess the real question is who tries to sign with the Rockies and rebuild their stock?
Not a single goddamn soul.
No
the Rockies
pitchers.
Need to do a bunch of front office changes. No, they don't want anything to do with it. Are you kidding me?
All we need to say is the final thing is if you want someone else to blame now for what the Marlins do and the moves they make, you can blame Gabe Kapler because he is now the GM.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Where are you going to send Sandy Alcantara?
So excited.
Where are you?
You know what? Where is he going to send off contract?
Let's say
To hell.
Houston. Let's say.
Eh, likely.
Isn't that
Likely. It's
Houston
good.
kind of right?
You
That's
know what?
south
Yeah.
and
You know
it's
what? Fuck it. It's gonna
you
be
don't
either
like them.
Houston, Texas, or LA.
Yankees. What
Dodgers.
about Yankees?
No.
Nah.
No. Nah. I don't buy it. Anyway, definitely go read the full thing. A lot of really cool analysis. Will looks forward to this every year and puts in his own
I don't know if I
50
look
picks.
forward to it, but I definitely fall victim to I eat that gossip up like crazy.
Yeah, so MLB trade rumors, one of those sites we mentioned very often. I mean, most baseball fans probably know it, but obviously, if we're gonna basically spend almost an hour talking about things that they wrote, might as well
I
shout them
will
out. But
refresh that page 10 times a day probably now that the off season is going
yeah,
on.
I mean, and we're gonna try to cover as much. I mean, we don't have
No, we
specific
won't.
plans for the off season, but we're gonna, we're able to record. We'll hop on and we'll do it, and we'll talk about things as they
Probably
come.
not. We'll do better
Um,
things.
it's gonna. I do think it's gonna be a slow start to everything kind of happening.
That's
Pick up kind of towards like the dead of winter, but for the most part, off season has begun. I would
Can I
say
give one
congratulations.
bold
Yeah,
prediction?
go for
Schwarber
it.
resigns with the Phillies before December 1st.
I'm not gonna buy that one. I mean, maybe.
The main reason I'm kind of doing that is I'm thinking back to when the Phillies signed Aaron Nola. That one
Yeah,
happened very, very quick. That was like the week of or week before Thanksgiving, and they signed him to the 7 year, 175. So it
yeah,
wasn't a cheapy thing either. So my thinking is with a big name like that and being the Phillies, regardless of what Schwarber's market is, if he truly believes like he wants to stay in Philly or he's all for staying in it, they might just say, hey, we'll give you 5 at 25. The other side might say 30, and then next thing you know, it's a fairly quick finish to it. So I was thinking of it first saying by the end of the winter meetings, but I was like, you know what? I think it might even be before that, and the winter meetings is about something else.
yeah. I mean, again, I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. I mean, I think he's gonna look, and he's gonna see, and he's certainly gonna
I don't
talk.
think he has to
So,
look. People are going to talk to him. It's whether he wants
nah,
to give them
yeah, you know
any
what I mean,
leash.
though.
And I just don't think that
No,
when someone in
I don't
his
either.
situation who's also been through this already, and granted, the last time he was in this was the last lockout, he
Yep.
probably has a bit more of a he just needs to they just need to see if the Phillies are at all in the ballpark now of what they're thinking. If the answer is yes, it's going to get wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, I think he buys it up, and plus he's already got a ring, which I think is also something that's always worth talking about when talking
Yeah,
about contracts, whether or
he's got
not.
a ring. He now knows he's one of the faces of an organization. He just had a
Yep.
career year. He's familiar with the city, he's familiar with the clubhouse, he's got roots there. I think one of the things that doesn't get stressed enough when it comes to signings and players and where they may go or may not go is just the clubhouse environment.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
one of the things, regardless of how the Phillies have or have not performed in the postseason, is that I'm not gonna say every now, almost every single person seems to say that the Phillies, whether the Phillies clubhouse or just the organization, is top class. Like they're one of the
I think
best.
it's yeah.
So I think for someone like Schwarber, where he is in his career, and the fact that we know all the Phillies players seem to be having babies around the same time, that there is this luxury to settling down and not
Oh yeah,
having to move around. And he's got roots so far in Jersey with a
and
couple others.
I was gonna say, I mean, in case for people who aren't from the area, a lot of the athletes who play in Philadelphia for any sport end up having homes in New Jersey instead of living in the city. Like they
They're
because it's
close by.
just over the bridge, like 25 minutes. A lot better properties and more space out there, and better schools as well over in the Jersey side of things.
You just have to pay
So
$5 every time you want to leave the state.
that's true too. I mean, that's a part of it too. I mean, I grew up in New Jersey, so going between Philly and New Jersey was a concept for me, so I exactly know what that is. But yeah, for the most part, a lot of the guys, end up out there. It's really a nice place to settle down and be, and a lot of retired Philly athletes ended up staying because they just like in the area. So regardless,
Remember when this
though,
episode was going to be 30 minutes?
I don't even think I agreed that it was going to be 30 minutes.
That's
I just said
true.
it was going to be a shoot the shit episode, which could be 30 minutes or could be an hour like this one. So
Definitely shot some shit.
We did. There was shit that was shot today.
We went down one narrative, and then next thing you know, we made all these different branches, and next thing you know,
I don't know why we need the other two guys. I'm just saying.
We just make because if without them, every podcast episode is about the Phillies. We need them if we want to stay somewhat on track. Or
I will bring this up.
Teams.
I will bring this up once again in our end of season meeting where, you know what, we'll just make a spinoff Phillies podcast and it'll just be you and me. That's all it's going to be. So regardless of that, though, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys had a good season. Fuck you, Dodger fans. If you make sure you like this video and follow us on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter at Big League Breakdowns. BL_breakdowns on Twitter. I did it backwards. How Tyler you just said that was really funny, actually. And make sure to follow us on other podcast platforms as well, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple, amongst others. But that'll do it. We will see you when we see you, and that is all for today.
Wear your seatbelt, John. You're coming back from Disney.